This work begins now. The people of Nigeria are looking to this administration for results, and they expect them quickly.
Financial autonomy of state houses of assembly tops deliberations as speakers hold conference in Lagos.
Operatives of Nigeria police rearrest notorious kidnap kingpin Hamisu Bala Wadume in Kano.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss the attack on Senator Ekweremadu, plus inauguration of the Federal Executive Council.
August 17, 2019 will no doubt remain memorable in the minds of many Nigerians, home and abroad, as one of the dark days in the history of our country.
Well, the reason obviously is not far-fetched, Rhoda, and it was on that day that some members of the proscribed indigenous peoples of Biafra attacked former Deputy Senate President Ekweremadu at the second annual Igbo Cultural Festival, which was taking place in Nuremberg in Germany.
Now, this ugly development attracted condemnation from different quarters, including political leaders and other men of goodwill within and outside the shores of Nigeria.
Well, the incident, of course, has thrown up a number of questions, particularly with regard to our socio-cultural tradition, including respect for senior citizens and leaders, as well as, of course, guests who are invited to certain ceremonies.
And that's a big question because many Nigerians, or Nigerians generally, we are all over the world known to be resilient, respectful to elders, especially no matter the provocation, you know, and we're also very, very, very hospitable, you know, to people, especially when you have invited guests. That's one thing we're known for in Nigeria. You see us in our best character. You know, we behave better when we have visitors, either in our homes or we're outside among visitors. So
one question to ask is what went wrong in Nuremberg last weekend to warrant the assault on the distinguished Senator Ekweremadu, who was until recently the Deputy Senate President? Could the attackers have been under any influence, or were they sponsored by some other persons to carry out the act? And how would other nationals, of course, take this with regard to our national reputation? And are we giving room for others to, as it were, begin to look down on us on account of what transpired in faraway Germany? And what should be done going forward to prevent a reoccurrence in the future, considering that you have a number of Nigerian organizations in different parts of the world? So those are issues, of course, that we shall be taking a look at in one of our topics for conversation on Good Morning Nigeria today. My name is Kingsley Osadolo. I'd like to thank you for tuning in on the program.
I'm Rhoda and it's always a pleasure to have you join us. We're live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We're broadcasting live from our studios here in Abuja, Nigeria. Also, we shall discuss the inauguration of the Federal Executive Council, which is coming up in just a few hours.
Well, as always, we have our complimentary segments of the program, and these include newspaper review, business, and others. But let's begin the news highlights this morning with our colleague, Musbah Udanwahab. Good morning, Musbah.
Very good morning, Kingsley. Welcome. Let's take up the news. This morning, President Muhammadu Buhari expresses absolute confidence in the capacity and patriotic commitment of the ministers designate to not only deliver a better Nigeria, but also ensure a brighter future for all. This was at the closing of a two-day presidential retreat for the appointees aimed at building a stronger platform for synergy and teamwork.
Public service is not easy work, and at times it can be thankless. I am therefore charging you all to seize this opportunity to serve as an honor, to give your best to deliver on this mandate for a more prosperous Nigeria not for some, but for all Nigerians.
Meanwhile, the president has approved the replacement for heads of federal government agencies that were recently appointed as ministers. Senator Bashir Garba Mohammed has been appointed Federal Commissioner, National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons. He replaces Sadia Umar Farouk. Dr. Chioma Heji Keme has been appointed Executive Secretary, Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate, replacing Sharon Ikezo, while Kashifu Inua Abdullahi is now Director General, CEO, National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA. For Executive Commissioner, Stakeholder Management, Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, President Buhari has forwarded Adeleke Moronfolo Adewolu's name to the Senate for confirmation as replacement for Sunday Akandari. From the judiciary, Supreme Court strikes out Atiku's appeal. The Supreme Court has struck out an appeal by the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, on the party's inability to reply the objection of the APC have a presidential election petition court. This appeal comes from APC's challenge of the competence of the PDP's petition have a tribunal. The five-man panel of Supreme Court justices led by Justice Datijo Mohammed ruled that Atiku's reply was filed out of time. Election stakeholders have met in Abuja for the presentation of a report of a monitoring and evaluation situation room, which is a compilation of evidence materials for the 2019 presidential and senatorial elections by the Presidential Support Committee. Vice President Yemi Oshinbajo, in a message, says the All Progressives Congress, APC, is putting in place measures to improve the living conditions of Nigerians and boost infrastructural development in the country.
Time judgment is pronounced and the opposition party says this is not right. We have something to present and say by what we have presented, these are facts in the field across the states.
And in Lagos, speakers of state houses of assembly have held a conference with a focus on how to attain financial autonomy by the legislative arm of government in states. Deputy Speaker, House of Representatives, Ahmed Idris Wase, at the opening urged the speakers to save the local government system from imminent collapse.
The local government is the most crucial tier of government. And I believe together we'll put our hands together on deck to ensure we'll take them out of the shackles.
The operatives of the Nigeria police have rearrested the notorious kidnap kingpin Hamisu Bala Wadume. He was rearrested in the late hours on Monday in his hideout at Laim Me Alo Hautoro area of Kano State. The United States President's emergency plan for AIDS relief and U.S. Centers for Disease Control, U.S. Department of Defense and U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, have pledged to support Nigeria in implementing an antiretroviral treatment ART surge program in Rivers State to identify and provide treatment to approximately 180,000 people living with HIV. The United States ambassador to Nigeria, Stuart Simonton, led U.S. delegation on a courtesy visit to Rivers State to advocate for the elimination of user fees for all people living with HIV and antenatal care charges for pregnant women living with the virus. Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike commended the United States government for allocating $75 million for the treatment of HIV control activities in Nigeria. Ambassador Simonton thanked Governor Nyesom Wike for announcing his intent to eliminate user fee for persons living with HIV. About the news beats on Good Morning Nigeria this morning. Join us for more in the course of the day. And after now, the ministers designate are scheduled for inauguration today. That will be the discussion on the table this morning. Join Kisley and Rhoda after this timeout.
Can I see your particulars, sir?
Officer, my particulars no dey here.
In that case, you'll have to come with me to the police station.
Officer, which levels? Where I for find you something make you take arrange your weekend.
What? Offense number 1, driving without particulars. Offense number 2, trying to bribe an officer of the law.
I won't harass Nigerians or take bribe. Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
To the outer framers, the hat tippers, the turtleneckers, the fringe goers, you don't need to hide anymore. Try Dettol Even Tone. It cleans and helps to reduce the appearance of blemishes caused by oil, dirt and germs, giving your skin a healthy feel for an even better you. Dettol, be 100% sure.
All right, you're welcome back. And if you've just joined us, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Now to take our business news. Debt Management Office releases debt profile of Nigeria's geopolitical zones. Let's join Kunle Adeyeye for more details on this and other stories trending in the world of business.
Data from the Debt Management Office shows that 6 geopolitical zones of the country were exposed to a total domestic debt of 3.97 trillion naira as of March 31. The Southwest has more domestic debt than other regions of the country, with a debt of 1.04 trillion naira. The Southeast states owe 303 billion naira. The South-South region has a domestic debt burden of 949.4 billion naira, accounting for 23.91% of the country's sub-national domestic debt. The North-Central region, comprising Kwara, Kogi, Nasarawa, Niger, Plateau and Benue states, as well as the Federal Capital Territory, has a domestic debt burden of 648.63 billion naira, accounting for 16.34% of the country's subnational domestic debt. And the equities market on Tuesday closed on a negative note as Nigeria's stock exchange all-share index depreciated by minus 0.21% to close at 27,058.62 points as against plus 0.71% appreciation recorded previously. With business news, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
All right, thank you very much, Kunle, there for the business package and Good Morning Nigeria. Next for us on the program, we'll take a look at the front pages of some of today's newspapers.
As always, to give more insight into our review this morning is our regular newspaper reviewer, Bayo Atoibi. Bayo, good morning.
Good morning, Rhoda. Good morning, Kingsley.
Yeah, Bayo.
Good morning, Nigeria.
That's right. We'll take a look at the front pages of the Punch and the Daily Trust this morning. Their lead stories are similar. They're talking about the rearrest of Wadume. According to the Punch, coming with a kicker, Taraba slain policeman, soldiers shot cops and freed me, Wadume confesses. With a rider, Kidnap kingpin's arrest won't stop our probe. That's according to the defense headquarters. And you can see his photograph there, along with the members of the police special team that smoked him out of his hideout in Kano. That headline, it's also similar, as I said earlier, to what is the lead story for the Daily Trust newspaper. The Daily Trust newspaper captures it this way: Soldiers aided my escape from police, Wadume says, with 2 riders, how he was arrested inside Plaza in Kano, associate and others nabbed in Abuja and Taraba. Again, you have his photograph there. This time it's in handcuffs and also perhaps leg chains. His kaftan doesn't quite show that. So other stories on the front page of Daily Trust very quickly. I take those ones. Below the nameplate of the paper, 20 governors yet to form cabinet as Buhari swears in ministers today. That's page 7. Flood kills 6 and displaces over 600 in Jigawa. That's page 4. FRS lists Obasanjo firms and others among 1,901 tax defaulters. That's page 16. And right at the foot of the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, gunmen attack convoy of Nasarawa deputy governor, killed 5 policemen. It's a different account of that story regardless. Now, INEC server, Supreme Court dismisses PDP and Atiku's appeal. That's page 3. And on page 5, Buhari replaces heads of agencies who have been appointed ministers.
All right, let's quickly take a look at the blueprint this morning. Just below just beside the nameplate there, you'll see 3 Benue monarchs suspended over Katsina Allah killings, and that's on page 16. Unilori Malls Community TV broadcasting. Flood kills pregnant woman, 5 others in Jigawa is also a story that is trending on the blueprint this morning. And the lead story is retreat ends. Who gets what as Buhari swears in ministers? Retreat ends. Who gets what as Buhari ends swears in ministers is the lead story for the pod this morning. That's the big story. And then with some riders there and some of the pictures of ministers designate, Agba Oga may head petroleum. Information awaits Lai Okeamu, Magashin line for defense, and Hamed may return to finance. That's on page 6. And then if you come down, you also have the picture story of the story that Kingsley read. That is the rearrest of Wadume there, being paraded at the force headquarters in Abuja yesterday. Now let's go down to the foot of the paper. It says, why Atiku PDP lost at the court and no cause for alarm, says ex-VP. That's on page 5. Then if you come down also on the foot of the paper, it says Taraba kingpin Wadume arrested. Fake admission, 200 Imo University students to miss graduation. That's on page 16. All right, but let's begin with the rearrest of the Kidnap kingpin Wadume.
Yes, indeed, operatives of the Inspector General of Police response team rearrested Wadume, described as notorious kingpin in Kano on late Tuesday evening. He was arrested as Laime Alo in Hotoro quarters of Kano State. The police had been on his trail since the 6th of August after the gruesome murder of 3 policemen, 2 civilians and 5 other persons that were injured. The chairman of APGA at Ibi and 7 other persons, too, including an Islamic cleric, have also been arrested. They actually had visited the head of IRT trying to plead for Wadume, and the party chairman is said to be a very close friend of the Wadume man. Since the attempted arrest of Wadume on 6th of August, which was bungled by rescuers, there has been no single kidnap along Ukari Takum Road. That speaks volumes. Absolutely. Since he has been arrested, kidnapping in that axis has stopped. Mm-hmm. So apparently they have needed the kidnapping there in the boat. On the other unfortunate story is the 3 policemen were killed yesterday in the convoy of the deputy governor of Nasarawa State. The deputy governor was in his way to Abuja on a national assignment. And just when they got very close to Akanga, they run into an armed robbery and they fired at the convoy before they escaped. Unfortunately, 3 of the police officers and the driver were killed. The bodies have been taken to Dalhatu Araf Specialist Hospital in Lafia. The Commissioner of Police, Bole Alonge, has already visited the scene, and they are pursuing investigative purposes to ensure that the criminals are apprehended. Meanwhile, ministers designate, you remember, got set at the Senate during the training. They also get to their marks after a two-day presidential screening. They are expected to hit the ground running today if they are sworn in and allocated portfolios. President Muhammadu Buhari challenged them at the conclusion yesterday and said, I have no doubt in the individual capacity and collective patriotism commitment of the ministers designate. He said, to deliver a better Nigeria for us, our children, and a brighter future for all of us all. He enjoined them to submit two directives he gave. Submit all issues for attention or meeting requests through the office of the Chief of Staff, while all Federal Executive Council matters are to be submitted through the Cabinet Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. He also challenged them that public service at times can be tactless, and nevertheless, he enjoined ministers designate to see the opportunity to serve as an honor, to give their best, to deliver their mandate for the prosperity of Nigeria. And therefore, if you were one of them, certainly you will have an intrusion and you will be challenged to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty is the task that must be done.
But there was a story that was trending yesterday, and it's at the foot of the Nigerian pilots, and the EFCC has denied that. It says EFCC denies raiding ex-governor Ambode's house. That was a story that was trending from the early hours of yesterday up until it was late.
Yes, there were reports that his home in Lagos and under at Ekwe had been raided.
Yeah.
But the EFCC says they are not the one responsible for that. Okay. It is now left for whoever was responsible for raiding the home to be identified. But, you know, some of these stories, you have to be very careful on the social media. Most of the time, they are just fleeting tales.
But by on this one, there were videos actually circulating, but like just as you said, whether they were from the EFCC, where they were from is what we don't know. Okay. All right, but let's quickly...
I'm just wondering, before the Wadume story.
Yes.
I think that this is a big opportunity to further unravel the network of kidnapping in the country. Yeah. And because kidnapping is now on an industrial scale.
Yes.
And as you rightly observed, since the initial arrest of Wadume, and up to this moment, there appears to be no further incident of kidnapping along the Wukari axis. That tells you that, you know, a kingpin, of course, has been taken down. But what then do you do with the network that has been established? Some of his gang members, according to the reports, have also been arrested in different locations.
Yes.
And he's also said to own properties in different locations as well. And the story of the involvement of some officials of the security agencies, the soldiers, and allegedly some policemen, this is very serious. I think that the authorities must regard this as an opportunity to get to the root of the matter and then to deal with those issues decisively, of course, according to due process, according to the law. Wadume is said to own houses in different locations. Of course, as you very well know, some states already have laws, you know, compulsory acquisition of such houses or the demolition of those houses. Plus, of course, now you also have a number of counts when charges have been drafted for offenses of this nature. The murder of three policemen who were on official duty.
Yes.
Assuming they were not even on official duty, of course, you will have issues for the assailants, you know, to account for. So there are service offenses involved here. There are also criminal offenses involved here. Nigerians cannot be at the mercy, as it were, of kidnappers who appear to be operating an industry actively supported, as it were now, by some outlaws who are also in the security services.
Yes, obviously, kidnapping had turned out to be the most profitable adventure in recent times. And now that you also, not only the Wukari-Takum axis, Kaduna Abuja Expressway, for a long time now, there have not been any incidences of kidnapping any longer. If there are any at all, there will be only flash incidences. And that is to say that they have been able to nick them in the bud. But I think the security agencies must trace everyone along that network, because that of the Kaduna-Abuja axis is the most dangerous, because it spreads through Niger State up to Katsina and has the link with the banditry that was going on in the northwest.
Yeah, we must again give kudos to the intelligence response team of the Inspector General's office. It was set up some years ago. It's always been very active, and you know, we have cases like this to crack, and the boys are always out there, and they deliver. You recall, you stated that unfortunately some of those officers who were killed in Taraba were amongst those who secured the rescue of the district head of Daura.
Yes.
And they were also involved in busting some other kidnap cases.
Including Evans.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, so let's quickly take a look at the Nigerian pilot. On the Nigerian pilot, same stories trending on some other papers. Buhari replaces heads of government agencies as ministers get portfolios today. Northern governors shun conference on insecurity. That's on page 11. And of course, the big story on the Nigerian pilot today, Nigerians poor and shows for a better life, says Buhari. That's on page 8 of the Nigerian pilot. Let's quickly go down to the foot of the paper. Ruga shouldn't be a national issue, says Ganduje. That's the governor of Kano State. That's on page 8. And a couple of other stories just below there. It says deputy governor's impeachment. Okay, but I'd like to speak to this much later. Assembly directs CJ to set up panel. Edo Bauchi Assembly crisis. Reps won't allow law order breakdown. That's on page 6. And federal government petitions Ukraine over death of Nigerian doctor. That was a story that was trending the upper week. That's on page 11. Good to know that.
Okay. From the Punch newspaper, above the nameplate and 2 earpieces there beside the name flag. Let's just take those headlines. Banks suffer 100 billion naira bad loans in power sector. That's page 23. And 2 earpieces. Boko Haram crisis could last 15 more years. That's attributed to former President Olusegun Obasanjo. And then, of course, we already talked about the lead story with regard to the rearrest of Wadume. And below the 2 photographs there on the front page, Niger SDP governorship candidate freed after 4 million naira ransom. That is after the photographs on the front page there, page 8. Repentant bandits helping to tackle killings. That's attributed to Batawale, who is governor of Zamfara, page 10. Kogi CJ asked to raise Achuba's impeachment panel, page 11. Suspended Buhari's aide, that's Oko Obono Obla, that sues ICPC and Sean's agency summons. And SARS operatives killed disarmed suspects in Lagos. And UN laments attacks on 8 workers in the northeast. Page 10. Bio.
Yes, the issue of Kogi State House of Assembly. The Assembly yesterday passed a resolution to begin the process of impeachment of the Deputy Governor Simon Achuba. The resolution was listed in this, was raised by the majority leader in the House, and the Chief Judge of Kogi State is asked to constitute a 7-man panel to investigate allegation of misconduct. Majority Leader Adekunle Bello Balogun says it is in line with Section 88(3) of the Constitution. 19 members of the House, 2 more than the 17 required, supported the motion. The Speaker, Matthew Kolawole, has directed the Chief Judge of Kogi State, Nasir Ajana, to set up the committee. Meanwhile, members of the proscribed Islamic movement of Nigeria are reported to be causing disquiet in local communities in the Federal Capital Territory. One comrade, Yunusa Yusuf, says that the members of the Shiite group are hiding in remote villages of the FCT, and they use those places as their hideouts and are also causing serious concern. The presence is becoming unbearable. They are allegedly indulged in physical assault of natives, including raping of women, alleged raping of women. He cited an instance last week when a Shiite member allegedly chopped off the fingers of a villager at Guzape, and they said that government should desist from treating the IMN members with kid gloves because the communities are no longer going to be tolerant of the harassment of these people who are settling among them and causing disquiet.
All right, let me quickly, I'd like to I'll cut you there. I'd quickly like to take our editorial for today. We're out of time for the newspaper review segment. We're discussing 2 items this morning. Our editorial this morning is from the Voice of the nation. It's on a federal government's plan to create 40,000 jobs. It says the federal government plans to utilize the last tranche of its 175 million US dollar loan supported by the African Development Bank to create 40,000 jobs. It says this plan cannot be faltered. Agriculture and its entirety chain is one good sector which government at all levels can use, not only to wean the economy from its overdependence on crude oil, but also solve youth unemployment, reduce poverty and create wealth. So the intention is to use this last tranche of the money on job creation through agriculture.
Well, I think the editorial has happened on the fact that the government has set itself a target of creating 100 million jobs. Yeah. And one of the areas for which it is most certain that that could be done is agriculture. And therefore, with the support from the African Development Bank, I think the government is set, if it pursues its program, particularly that of diversifying the economy away from oil and happen on agriculture. However, emphasis must also have to be put on the state government for every state to be involved in this, particularly in the agricultural produce they have the best strength to help support the economy with.
Bayo, we would like to thank you for being around. One story, I'm sure that it will continue to resonate. 20 state governors are yet to form their cabinet. And you just ask yourself, what's happening to our constitution? Bayo?
100 days after inauguration.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for being around.
Thank you too.
So we hope to see you tomorrow. All right, it's Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll get ahead with our items for discussion.
They are there at the crack of dawn. They are there busy preparing while we rise for our day. They are there silently, guarding, waiting, listening, and watching. They are there ready in the sky above and the waters below, in the blistering heat of the day, in the dead of night, willing, indefatigable, determined in the defense of the sovereignty of our country. They are our first line of defense and our last. They who have paid the ultimate price in defending us. They are fathers and uncles. They are mothers and sisters and girlfriends and boyfriends. They are brothers and cousins and best friends and neighbors. They are classmates, colleagues, and citizens of this nation. They are our defenders and deserve our respect, our prayers, our thoughts. Nigeria, please support our armed forces.
Advertising your goods and services on the right channel gives you an edge over your competitors. NTA News 24 has all the platforms for your target audience. The station is on DSTV channel 419, GoTV channel 46, StarTimes channel 101, and Free TV channel 703. With our digital format and wide range, we can reach your customers in next to no time. We are eager to promote your business, goods, and services. So, partner with us for a very rewarding business experience. For more information, please call Henry on 0803-379-0884 or visit our office at NTA Headquarters, Area 11, Garki, Abuja. NTA News 24. News and more news.
You're welcome back, and you're watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the NTA. We have two conversations this morning. But to begin the first leg of our conversation, which is on the attack of former Deputy Senate President Ekweremadu, let's take this background report put together by Kunle Adeyeye.
A group of people known to be members of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra attacked the former deputy president of the Senate, Ekweremadu, in the German city of Nuremberg. Ekweremadu had traveled to Germany on invitation to celebrate the second annual Igbo Cultural Festival held in the German city. In a video that trended on social media, the visitor was chased out of the event venue by some men who assaulted him. These ugly acts attracted reactions and condemnations by various political parties, leaders, and other well-meaning Nigerians, home and abroad. They described the attack as shameful, unacceptable, unjustifiable, and barbaric. For President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, the attack in the present 21st century was uncalled for, as he is not responsible for whatever happens in the southeastern Nigeria. This unruly behavior of the attackers did not speak well of them, as Nigerians who are known to have high regards for elders and the constituted authority. But what could have been responsible for this behavior to their invited guest, who is known to be a great patriot and leader of exemplary behavior? Well, the victim, Senator Ekweremadu, has since returned to Nigeria, and he said he has pardoned them. The big question is the attack a transfer of aggression or a calculated attempt to humiliate the former Deputy Senate President? Is this part of our culture as responsible Nigerians? Could some people be behind the incident? Guests on Good Morning Nigeria are waiting to provide answers.
All right, that's the background report there put together by our correspondent Kunle Adeyeye. We have two guests with us in the studios, and also we'll be joined by two other guests from Germany via Skype. First, let's welcome Honorable Abike Dabiri-Erewa, who is the Chairman, CEO of Nigerian Diaspora Commission. Honorable Abike Dabiri-Erewa, pleasure to have with us.
Thank you and good morning.
Okay, also here with us on Good Morning Nigeria today is a regular on Good Morning on the program, Dr. Law Mefo is a forensic and social psychologist, but also a very close associate of Senator Ekweremadu, who was assaulted in Nuremberg last weekend. Dr. Mefo, pleasure to have you with us on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just as Kingsley indicated, we have two guests joining us from Nuremberg, Germany. We're being joined via Skype by Ikechukwu Okafo, who is in Germany, live for us there via Skype. Ikechukwu, thank you very much for joining us. And also from Germany, via Skype, we have Kenneth Gbandi, who's a peace research and conflict mediation expert. Thank you for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you, ma'am, for having me on the program.
All right, let's begin the discussion with Law Mefo, who is a close associate.
I was wondering, just before we get in, just to indicate that our producers had been in touch with the Nigerian ambassador, who is in Berlin. That's Ambassador Yusuf Maitama Tuga, and he had indicated that he would be part of this conversation, but we're expecting that perhaps he might join us before we wrap up the conversation.
All right, so now let's begin with Law Mefo. You are close to Senator Ekweremadu.
I am.
And of course, you've had a very detailed conversation with him on what actually happened. So can you give us a graphic description of what actually happened on the 17th of August?
Oh, well, to begin with, the incident is most embarrassing, most unusual. Is something that you can't just, put your finger on directly. So many things appear to be at play here for me. I'll come to that shortly. Ekweremadu was duly invited by the Igbos in Germany for, New Year Festival, amongst other things. He essentially wanted to use the opportunity to work on even attracting investors, to Nigeria, especially the Southeast, as he has often done. And before that, there was a video I watched where the leader of IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, issued a directive that Nnewodo and others that were active in bringing on Operation Python Dance 2 should not be allowed to be part of that program. Now, Ekweremadu happened to be the only one that attended. When he arrived, he actually wanted to, greet people he met in the arena before entering the main hall. unknown to him, those people detailed by Nnamdi Kanu accosted him, assaulted him, and of course you saw the video. And the issue here is this. Shortly after, the spokesman of IPOB, he goes by the name Emma Powerful, made a statement, given the reason why they attacked Ekweremadu and why they would attack more. They gave a long list of those on the attack list, and they said that they met, instigated, funded, activated Operation Python Dance. This to me is a bit absurd. I'll tell you why. You see, Ekweremadu was instrumental, to the release of Nnamdi Kanu from Kuje prison. He helped, in helping Nnamdi Kanu meet his bail conditions. You all know how stringent the bail conditions were. If he didn't want Nnamdi Kanu out and free, he would, it was cheaper for him to leave him in there and even frustrate any effort to bring him out. Now, here, the same man that should be seen as an ally, what we may call in the Bible context, Nicodemus, he have sympathy for certain things without coming out openly to do so. Ekweremadu was on the side of the IPOB for the simple reason that they are Igbo youths. So to turn around and say that he instigated, funded, activated Operation Python Dance too is to me absurd and lacks logic on the whole.
All right.
So that's the initial shot I can give to this.
Yeah, we'll return to you to examine further the motive and motivation for the attack on Senator Ekweremadu. We have two guests whom we've already introduced via Skype from Germany. Ikechukwu Okafor, who, of course, is in Nuremberg in Germany. That's the locus of the assault. Ikechukwu, could you recollect for our viewers what transpired on the 17th of August?
Good morning. First, I will start by thanking and appreciating the efforts so far by the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission. Because she also sent, actually because it was a very short notice, so she also sent somebody on the same day to represent her at that event. It's just a coincidence. The moment it was at the time we were arriving at the venue, so we arrived, our car was parked in front of the car that brought in the former deputy Senate president. So I saw, when I got down from the car, I saw people rushing to his car. So I was thinking that maybe they just say hello. And all of a sudden I started seeing eggs flying everywhere. So I started throwing eggs at him and mostly at people around the area where his car was parked. It was even by luck that one of the eggs did not hit the representative of the Nigerian Diaspora Commission. So, and from that onset, chaos erupted. So we tried as much as we could. At first, nobody knew what was happening. So when we realized what was really happening, we tried as much as we could to calm down the situation. So, and the rest is the pictures and videos you're getting from the social media.
Ikechukwu, we've seen some of the videos taken at the scene that you described as some chaos. But I was wondering, after Ekweremadu was spirited out of that environment, what happened later?
Yeah, what happened was that some people, some angry people, let me just put it this way, were arrested by the police. And they're not really arrested, they were just taken aside, moved from the main venue. And the their identities have to be established, and their names, their addresses. So the police were doing their job. And yesterday, I also spoke to the policeman in charge. So he told me they are still on the investigation. So the most important thing is that before it could become a serious criminal case, Ekweremadu has to place charges, which he now publicly denounced in Nigeria that he has forgiven them. So if anything should happen now, it's going to come from the side of the prosecutor general in Germany here. So I don't think nothing much will come out of it, except we Nigerians here want to place or rather push more, which I personally am not in support of such.
Ikechukwu Okafor, you've talked about Ekweremadu saying that he has forgiven his attackers. That has to do with whether he wants to pursue any of his rights that have been violated in the civil matter. But if there are criminal issues arising, he has no control over that. And if the German authorities actually want to go ahead to prosecute, they will do that. But I still would like you to tell us, did the Yam Festival continue after that attempt at assaulting Ekweremadu, and what were the immediate comments by the attendees if the ceremony proceeded as they are scheduled?
Absolutely. The event went on afterwards when, in fact, we were even thinking that as human, we all can understand that the sitting very deep, so he could not make it back. The ambassador, the Nigerian ambassador to Germany was there. The representative of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission was there. So I actually was the one in charge of the dignitary sent from the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission. So everything went well. She gave her speech, was received with applause, and yeah, we all had our fun the way we planned to do it.
All right, Ikechukwu, we seem to be having issues with connecting with you there via Skype. We hope that the network improves in the course of this discussion. But let's bring in Honorable Abike Dabiri-Arewa, who's the chairman and CEO for the Nigerians and Diaspora Commission.
Thank you.
Ma, what do you make of all of this that has happened?
Not good for the image of the country. We keep saying we're treated. Somebody called me yesterday and said, well, we have a new name, egg throwers and stone throwers. Landed in Berlin. I was like, oh, you're Nigerian. No, the egg throwers. Forget about the personality. Forget about whether it's a group. We are Nigerians. So whatever happens, it tells on the image of our country, of us all. So it's something that will affect every one of us. And like I said, when this thing happened, it's pathetic, it's shamefully pathetic, and it's a national embarrassment. We're not saying don't protest, we're not saying don't be angry, but in another man's country, at an event, in fact, the gentleman who just spoke, they put in so much effort into making that event. I remember he came here like 3 times, inviting dignitaries, to try and attend and all that. So forget about whether there are issues. I could be angry with you, but it's the solution at a public event in another man's country to throw stones and eggs and tear. I mean, come on. There's no excuse whatsoever. Imagine they came to that hall with their banners or, singing and then telling the Ekweremadu, we're angry with you at one thing or the other. But you do not in another man's country, where laws are meant to be respected. So even when you say human rights, they're not going to allow you to that was violence, against somebody who wasn't expected. And then when people said to me, oh, well, you were the first to issue a statement, he's this and that, I said, no, the fact is Nigeria first. And one of the reasons why we should have an offenders register in all our embassies. And we're going to push for that. This kind of instance, we should have them listed as offenders. And someday they'll still come back to Nigeria. So let's look at it from the nationalistic point of view. It's him today, it could be anybody tomorrow. And then basically to us as Nigerians. Somebody sent me a message this morning that in some airport, maybe in Nairobi or something, they'll pull you aside as a Nigerian and now rescan your yellow passport, your yellow card. Why? Because a lot of Nigerians are going with fake yellow cards. So when you go with the fake yellow, they now see you as, oh, that yellow card, we can't trust you. We can't trust the information. Take you aside. Now scan you specially. So those are things that is one of the things that I think will rubbish our image. It's not government. It's about us and the way we conduct ourselves and the things we do.
Well, Ikechukwu, speaking to us a while ago, indicated that a representative of your commission was at the event. What report did you get from your representative?
I got the first-hand report from her, and that was why it was very easy for us to immediately condemn the act. And she told me that after the Ekweremadu incident, actually, like he said, the event continued. The ambassador gave a speech, she gave a speech. It was very colorful, it was very beautiful, and it was very well attended. It was a beautiful ceremony. So after the Ekweremadu incident, they all left. Like you said, some people were actually, well, we call it arrested, but they were taken away, asked some questions. That, like you said, in Germany, is a civil matter, it's not a criminal matter, except the complainer goes and says, or somebody there could say, oh, they injured, but nobody, so it went very well. She showed me the pictures, it was beautiful, it was colorful, you would even be proud of the Igbo culture, so like you said, it went very well. The whole event was concluded, the ambassador to give his own speech, people gave their speeches, there was a lot of the normal Yam Festival ceremony, so unfortunately that was the only part of the ceremony that went viral.
Yes, that's right. Well, thank you, Honorable Abikadabre. We earlier introduced Kenneth Bandi on Skype, also joining us from Germany. You can see him there. Kenneth, what's your own recollection of what transpired? In particular, tell us something. Was there any hint that this unruly behavior might erupt at the festival in Nuremberg?
Well, thank you first of all for having me on the program, and my compliment to our chairman, Nigerian Diaspora Organization, Nigerian Diaspora Commission, Honorable Abikadabre. Yes, in addition to myself also being a expert on peace and security mediation, I'm also the chairman of Nigerian Diaspora Organization, Europe, for Continental Europe. Of course, we expected such incident, so to say. And then we also, in our condemnation for any act of violence, we've maintained that the organizers of the event, they should actually take that into consideration and make an adequate security arrangement. What we can make out of that, I'm not speaking for the Nigerian embassy, what we can make out for that if a necessary precaution has taken into consideration, that probably this ugly incident could have been avoided. What do I mean by that? First, our former deputy president, Senate president, came in with a private car, which is actually very good. It's commendable because it has actually indicated that he has this willingness to interact with his own people. Rather than flying the normal official car. From our recollection, from our experience in Germany of 23 years, if our former deputy Senate president had decided to fly on a diplomatic car via the embassy, the security arrangement would have been much different. So yes, we understand that there's a lot of dissatisfaction from the diaspora on certain issues, which as diaspora and as professionals we expected to look into the laws of the land and address things the way they should be professionally. So yes, I think we expected such incident to happen, and I would have expected the organizers to take a maximum precaution for that.
When did you begin to get a sense that there was likely to be an attack on any visitor, any distinguished visitor from Nigeria? And what is so much at foot? Lawmaker here has given us a rundown of the efforts by Senator Ekweremadu to ensure that Nnamdi Kanu, who is the leader of the proscribed IPOB, got his bail while he was at Kuje prison. Why then would he be a target of the kind of unruly behavior that we saw last weekend?
Well, I think he's magnanimous enough by actually putting up a statement that he has forgiven the attacker, which is actually exemplary and good to probably de-escalate the issue. And I would want to say basically that the unruly behavior we experienced in Nuremberg does not represent a typical behavior of the Nigerians in diaspora. Of course, we know that such issues rub on everybody, but it's actually not expected. What am I trying to say by that? We have different opinion on several issues in Nigeria, several issues on policies, several issues on this security situation in Nigeria, and so forth and so on. But we expected that we should be able to, debate as a professionals and as diasporan these issues and actually come to a compromise on that. So we know that there are people who probably see things differently and want to, impose their opinion on other people, and that is where we're actually totally against that. That having stayed so much in Germany, having stayed so much in Europe, we enjoy the freedom of freedom of speech, which we are enjoying here. We enjoy the democratic values, like Honorable Kidnap already mentioned. You have a right to protest and even do all the necessary things to express your dissatisfaction. That is part of the policy, the advantage of a democratic country. But immediately you decide to use violence to impose your will on the opinion of other person, then of course it becomes totally unacceptable. So we are saying that such behavior is basically not acceptable. People might probably feel differently about whatever opinion they hold on to, which there are many of, or I wouldn't say many of them, couple of them. So we expect that in every debate, people are actually having a strong different opinion, but throwing eggs and violent attack is definitely not part of it.
Thank you very, very much. We'll get back to you in the course of this discourse. Let's bring in Honorable Ekweremadu again. Before now, we've seen that in some parts of the world, Nigerians are already, suffering some form of discrimination or attacks. With this happening, isn't that going to give other nationals opportunity to now attack us? And what is your commission doing in terms of engaging the people that we have in diaspora to ensure that this kind of incident doesn't happen again?
Well, we just won't allow it to happen. You don't allow yourself to be stigmatized. I've said it severally. So that a group of people, 5, 10 people, did what they did does not reflect me and does not reflect you. So the way you conduct yourself matters. So don't allow stigmatization. Never allow it. And we keep saying that. We keep engaging Nigerians abroad through the various... and I'm glad that, no reasonable person will see any sense in that. And again, one thing is, try to let the embassy know, especially, if you're a top government official, if you're around. It's important to inform them. You might say you inform them they did nothing, but it's always important that you inform the embassy of your visit or the fact that you're having a program in any of these countries. So I think that is also important for us. So basically, we, like I said, we were there, the commission was represented. So we try to be engage as many as we can, within our limited resources, do the best we can. So it's the engagement will always be continuous. But again, it's very important, like I said, that you inform the embassy of your move. Even students, when you go to a university, in Ukraine, for instance, we had a case of a student that was killed not too long ago. You are not aware that the student is there. So we're going to have some kind of, enlightenment program. A lot of people will say, we don't want to go to the embassy. They are this and that. But at least let them know I'm a student. I'm in this country. This is what I'm studying. Just document yourself there. If you get into trouble and they don't show up is another thing. They won't say, oh, we didn't know anything. The guy that was killed in Malaysia prison, when the Malaysian authorities arrested him, they didn't tell the embassy. It was when he died that they now informed the embassy. And that's why it was very easy for the embassy to take it up. Why didn't you tell us whether our citizen in your prison? So it's very important. And right now, good enough, a diaspora desk have been created in every embassy. So we're soon going to announce the diaspora desk officers at every embassy in Nigeria, so that the desk you'll go to, there's the desk we will communicate with. You don't need to look for the ambassador. So there'll be a contact person in every embassy. And then states also need to get more involved in diaspora issues. So we hope every state will have a focal person for the diaspora, so that even in terms of investments, so we have about 10 states now have Some have commissioners, some have advisors on diaspora. So we want to hope that every state will see this as very important, not just because of the remittances that, we're always talking about, but the fact that there's a lot of good things in the diaspora, and it's important to tap into it. So we keep doing as much as we can. And even at the commission, by the time we move to our headquarters, we're going to have various, the EFCC, we're working with the EFCC. So if, for instance, you've been defrauded abroad, there's a desk to report to. Immigration, we'll be working with them. A major problem are passports. So, we'll see how we can ease the problems, working with the Commission and other relevant agencies.
Well, still with you, the CEO of the Diaspora Commission, the summer season is usually very active with regard to various socio-cultural organizations in the diaspora and the various branches of the Diaspora Commission, of the Nigerians in diaspora, in the Americas, in Europe. And we have seen a flow of dignitaries who are invited from Nigeria to make appearances, such as Ekweremadu was going to make at Nuremberg. In your opinion, and against the background of the threat, of further assault and attacks, what might happen to some of these festivals or these meets that you normally have Nigerians organize in different parts of the world, and the interaction that comes with those who are invited from home to participate in such events?
I just say that don't let them succeed in their aim, which is to make you afraid. You shouldn't be. And interesting, there's been a lot of jokes on social media about these issues. Did you see the guy holding stones behind him? Say, I'm waiting for a New Year festival. Then even jokes about some governors, they were invited for New Year festival, and the governor said, I will eat yam at home. So there's been quite a lot of this. But don't be afraid. And then, like I said, maybe more precaution. You're having an event, the embassy should know. You have a dignitary coming, let the embassy know you're around. Just we walk to the embassy, informing them of your presence, would help. But really, there's nothing to worry about. Now, this particular, several times, I've been in Canada at an event, and IPOP came to demonstrate. They came in here singing songs. They call Buhari terrorists. They said all sorts of things. They abuse people in the hall, and we listened to them. And at the end of the day, I addressed them. And by the time I finished with them, they now invited me to address the whole community in that area. And I said, look, I wish people were talking to us the way you're talking to us. Then I said I should come to the whole community, made up of my brothers from the Southeast. And we ended up, having a very robust conversation. So it's not as if they don't protest, but this one of attacking a person is just the way out. So there's nothing to be afraid of. Many events are going on, they will continue to go on, and then there must be consequences for actions. And like I said, the diaspora desk, if we had an offenders register, the names of those people are on that register. So even if nothing is happening there, you can't commit such a crime and just walk away with it like that. So on our own part, like I said, we're going to have an offenders register to deal with that particular issue, just as we deal with other issues that affect Nigerians in the diaspora. So that that there just may be consequence for your action. So Nigerians, don't be afraid of anything, but let the embassy know when you're around.
Kingsley, I'd like to bring in Lawmefo. You were itching to speak to what Ikechukwu had said earlier, that the victim, Senator Ekweremadu, said he has forgiven them, he has pardoned them. Yeah. Is that an amnesty for those who have committed this act?
Well, I had a long conversation with Senator Ekweremadu on this issue yesterday, and he repeated this because I asked the same question. Are you going to press charges? He said he wouldn't. That he has forgiven and he has moved on. But if the officialdom decides to process the matter further, he wouldn't stop them. He said same when he arrived at the airport, at the Abuja airport. So what that means to me is that even if Senator Ekweremadu has forgiven as a statesman, those whose responsibility it is to keep the law must do their job. I don't think it is right for the German authorities to wait for Senator Ekweremadu to press charges. I told you there was a video where this order was issued, it's everywhere. Are they saying that after seeing such video that gave an order for an attack, not for a demonstration or a protest? I want us to get this clearly. If the order was to protest the presence of Ekweremadu, I wouldn't have any problems with it. But the word used was attack. So if the order was to attack and they attacked, there must be consequence. If there is no consequence, this will continue. And it is not good for us as a country. And as an Igbo man myself, I will not be happy. The reason is because this is rubbing off and coloring the entire ethnic group as same. It's not true. We are not all IPOB members, even though you have many of us that have sympathy for the struggle, but we have often told them about the method. The method is raw, unrefined. Look at the language, unprintable words. You cannot engage any decent authority in such language. And we have often made that case. You have a good cause, and it affects so many. But let us objectively present this matter in a manner that they can connect with everybody, and people can listen, and they see what they can do in agreeing or disagreeing with you.
What were the immediate thoughts of Ekweremadu? Apparently, it would appear that he was taken by surprise.
He was.
What were his immediate thoughts upon realizing that he was under a hail of stones and eggs?
Well, he said he stopped to greet before entering the hall. So you can see that he expected, a welcome, right? And like I said before, Ekweremadu does not have any reason to fear IPOB members. For me, this is a height of ingratitude. Do you remember that when Operation Python Dance was activated, Ekweremadu, as Deputy Senate President, wrote a protest letter to President Buhari to call off the Python Dance? It's there. It's on record. He didn't stop there. He went further to negotiate the withdrawal of troops from the southeast. Ekweremadu did so in his capacity as the highest ranking Igbo politician and official. And of course, what he considered to be his responsibility to the youths that are involved in this agitation. Even though he didn't agree with their methods and all that, he didn't think that they should be left in the harm's way. Do you understand that? Now, does it really sound logical that the man that took these steps, can ordinarily become a patent enemy of the same group whose leadership he had tried to,
Yeah, and then suddenly the eggs started flying, the stones started flying, his cap was removed.
And that is why I said, that this is not about Operation Python Dance. I am a psychologist. This will unravel. You will get to see that there is much more to this. This is political. What is going on is political. It's not about Ekweremadu. For me, what is going on is an attempt to liquidate any Igbo man of note that can lay claim upon representing Nigeria in presidential capacity. That is what I feel. And I stand to be corrected. Time shall tell. There is no doubt that this is what is at play. And that is the only reason they can go on ahead and sacrifice somebody as crucial to their struggle as Ekweremadu. And by so doing, activated, do you know what they have done? For me even, what has happened is a credit to Ekweremadu. Because many people had often thought that Ekweremadu is sponsoring them, is pampering them. Now they know better. Do you understand that? So for me, it's advantageous to Ekweremadu and a great negative consequence to Nnamdi Kanu, the IPOB struggle. Because have you seen a single organization that agreed with the IPOB on what they did? Not one. We have more than 400 Igbo organizations. Not one approved it. At home and the diaspora. So they have lost their sympathizers.
Okay, Dr. Lobeford, thank you very much. I'd like us to return to Kenneth Bangi, who is with us still via Skype. He's chair of NIDO in Europe. Kenneth Bangi, I would like you to speak to this. Well, the attackers of Ekweremadu would appear not to have been aliens. I mean, these were not foreigners. They seemed, if they had the IPOB instinct, then it would appear that they were Nigerians. Do you or members of your organization know the identity of these persons? And if you know the identity of the attackers, who are they? Are they stragglers, or are they persons who are well off, in Germany? Were they just picked up from the fringes of adversity, to come around and assault the former Deputy Senate President?
Well, that's a very good question. The answer is simple, that credit to the Nigerian Diaspora Commission and credit to NIMC. In Diaspora, we've just flagged up the Diaspora registration. The idea is to really, have a comprehensive database of Nigerians in Diaspora. So we can definitely be in the position to say XYZ took part in this account. Now, I'm not trying to avoid your question. We have a lot of Nigerians, or we have a lot of migrants, it's not specifically to Nigerian, that probably answers A in official language or official situation, and answer B in a private situation. So you might actually think you know Mr. A by Mr. A name, only to find out that Mr. A names in the register is not Mr. A names. And so you can definitely only be able to pinpoint that Mr. A has taken a part in such an ugly situation if you have a definite proof that Mr. A name as in the public is what.
Oh, shit. I think we lost him. I don't know if our Skype to Ikechukwu is still... Ikechukwu, if we still have Ikechukwu Okafor. Ikechukwu Okafor was, of course, one of those who ran errands for the community back and forth, as Abika indicated earlier. If Ikechukwu is online as well, Ikechukwu, give us a sense. I mean, take the question I posed to Kenneth. Do we know those who were the ringleaders, as it were, those who actually threw the stones? Some of the videos we have seen, if you can play them back in slow motion and say, yes, I know this person, I know this person. Are these persons are they comfortable, or are they stragglers?
Absolutely. We know almost everyone. I personally don't know them, but we have means of knowing who they are. Because in the first place, if we don't know them, they wouldn't enjoy the comforts of being amongst us before the arrival of the senator. Everybody there is known to us. In fact, at the moment, as we are speaking, there's a process going on that we are trying to identify everybody and know which group and which state or city he or she is living, and to know how to take care of such things next time. So we know all of them. Another thing I would like to come back to is, at this point, if we start trading blames, it's not going to help anybody. Because talking about the security issue, I myself am a security consultant because I have a master's degree in security strategy. If we had known there had been any kind of indication or indice that such thing will happen, we would have taken care of it. And there are certain things you cannot take care of. If you could remember, there are still in this same Germany, 3 or 4 ladies protested in front of the Russian president. It's just a similar issue. The has had eggs thrown at her too. So by the time we start trading blames, we at the same time forget the discourse. What are we really talking about? We should be talking about what happened, what led to it. And sometimes when I speak to the people living in diaspora, we have a lot of problems. And when I go to Nigeria or even contact the embassy, try to talk to some people to see if there's a way to help us, the only person I think that actually, to a very great extent, understand the things I'm talking about is the chairman of the Nigerian Diaspora Commission. So I'm surprised because for instance now, let me just give you a small example. for an average Nigerian who has a German passport for reasons best known to him. I have both citizenship, so I don't have problems with such. But for an average Nigerian who has only German passports for, I don't know, whatever the reason it may be, for him to come to Nigeria now, since last year, he is going to spend nothing less than 500 euros just to acquire a visa. So these are the issues that most of them couldn't even come to Nigeria again, and sometimes they just get this kind of clips from WhatsApp or Facebook, and they believe things are going wrong. Another thing I would also like to talk about is the issue of Ekweremadu being asked about Operation Python Dance or whatever. There are certain people that, due to their position or whatever it may be in this society, I'm talking about Germany, they are not really comfortable the way they thought they would be. And that is why it's easy for somebody who hasn't maybe in his own life achieved anything to come and tell them what to do. So if we start talking about somebody instructing people to go and do things against a senator of this republic, we are going to, I think, when we repeat it too often, we are giving credit to where credit isn't supposed to go. So we shouldn't be talking about, somebody telling somebody, if you come to this country, we throw stones at you. There was some of them were in the same Nuremberg, I think 2 weeks or last week. So they couldn't do anything. We should talk about what led to the situation, take care of it in the future. It's not to trade, and it has been happening, even to high
Okay, Rhoda, it looks like, yes, we're having further challenges with the audio from Ikechukwu Okafor in Nuremberg. We hope that clears up. Well, but I think that before we already have some tweets that have come in. Just before we take those tweets, we should get this fairly clear. Abike spoke to that, and I think the other guests too. Just to repeat it, there is virtually no jurisdiction where you do not have the right to protest. And
Absolutely.
there's virtually no jurisdiction. But your protest shouldn't then incorporate assault and battery.
That's it.
Assault and battery. By the time you take off my cap, you remember what happened to late Chibola Ige, when they took off his cap, and then, of course, other events that followed. And then you try to rip my dress off my back, and that certainly isn't protest any longer. So I think that point needs to be made.
Okay, let's take the tweet first. I'd like Honorable Ekweremadu to speak to the issues that he's raised, Ikechukwu has raised, and that's a very serious one. The passport issue, I know you earlier, were speaking to that, but then let's take the tweets, and if you have any, we have any questions, you could also speak to that. The first one is from Festus Akimboyewa. It says, assault is a serious crime anywhere in the world. Therefore, the assault on Ekweremadu is horrible and ridiculous, and the German government must ensure that those who participated in this shameful act are to face the law.
Now, Sunday Michael Amakoji said, no right-thinking Nigerian will celebrate the attack on Senator Ekweremadu in Germany. A resolution can be achieved outside dialogue and negotiation. Therefore, some of these Biafrans in diaspora should consider negotiation rather than attack. After all, Ekweremadu has been doing his best for them.
And Titus Monday says, in as much as I don't subscribe to attack on anybody anywhere, I like politicians to know that there is so much to be done in the country, and youth restiveness and RIF are part of it, and they should be seen doing their best in solving these issues.
Anitha Hogan tweets, the attack on the distinguished lawmaker of our land by anybody under any guise is condemnable. Members of the National Assembly are part of the symbols of our democracy and must be respected and protected wherever they go.
This attack is senseless. That's by Law Alpha C. It says mischievous, petty, cowardly, and calculated attempt to make the faceless proscribed group relevant again. This is a lawmaker who has constantly championed and facilitated the Southeast political relevance. No doubt IPOB is made up of hoodlums and mentally bankrupt persons who should find something meaningful to do.
Mike Anyako tweets, the attack on the former Deputy Senate President, for whatever reason, was despicable and condemnable, no matter the climb it took place. It was also a great insult to Nigeria. We have channels to express our feelings about governance, and those saying that it was a big lesson to other politicians should think twice.
Chris Simeon says now it is left for the Nigerian government to collaborate with the German government to bring the attackers to book. Attack on ex-deputy Senate President by proscribed IPOB members last week was an attack on humanity and Nigerians as a whole.
Adeye Mayowa tweets, I'm not in support of the attack, but at the same time, what are the channels that we have in Nigeria to express our feelings? This is one of the channels you have. That's why we have taken your tweet now.
And Cecilia Ekweremadu tweets, says, barbaric act on Senator Ekweremadu, ripple effect it is and will cause hardship via bans. Okay, Nigerians will be banned in some countries from traveling, more xenophobic attacks.
Now, Mustafa Maigawa, I believe that's Maigawa, so the action of those disgruntled Nigerians is certainly a national embarrassment to Nigerians.
And the final one is from Akeju Olagbaju. It says, in my opinion, the action is shameful and it's a stain to us as Nigerians. This is another dimension of unleashing terror on innocent people. The Diaspora Commission and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs must look at remote cause to bring perpetrators to book. Senator Kidnap, there was an issue not too long ago of someone who went to, I think, Nigerian embassy and, was protesting, especially with the issue of, getting to have their passports. And Ikechukwu also spoke to that now. What should Nigerians in diaspora know? What is being done to ensure that more people are able to access passports?
Like I said, if we had to do a content analysis of complaints we get, is number one is with passports, and sometimes you wait for a long time. But a lot is being done. Immigration has just put up an advert asking those qualified they want to open more centers abroad. In America, in Europe, to have more centers for passport processing, not just, so they want to have a lot more. They put up the advert, and I believe a lot of progress has been made. And then even in the UK, if you follow up, you find that, there's been tremendous improvement. However, a lot more could be done. We want to get to a situation where there'll be no complaints about passports, but it's gradual. But we believe that, when the right things are done, it will happen. It's a bit complicated. And then again, we also have to learn to follow rules. You're supposed to apply online and then pay something, but then you don't want to do that.
You said pay something. He was talking about the costs.
Yeah, no, I don't know what.
That's a visa fee.
That's for the visa fee, which I'm just hearing from him. Again, we'll find out why. If that is the fee you're paying, everybody is paying, do you pay separately? You have a German passport. At that point in time, you apply for a visa. What's the visa fee? Why don't you also get a Nigerian passport? So why don't you also get a Nigerian passport? With a Nigerian passport, you don't need to apply for a visa. So those are things that I'll get more information from him. And then most importantly, again, I'll add, the way we behave matters. This is not about government, it's about us. Okay, we've been saying South Africa, they're killing our people, but we're also killing ourselves in South Africa. So when you have Nigerians killing themselves, drug cult wars, it makes it more difficult to complain against the other person. When you have you throwing stones and eggs at your own person, another man's country, it makes it more difficult to demand respect from them. So it's about us and how we behave. It's very, very important.
Okay, thank you. If Kenneth is back via Skype, Kenneth Bundy, I would like you to respond to this. How well informed are some of the diasporans about occurrences back home, so that you don't have the case of, shall we say, mistaken identity or misrepresentation, as happened in the case of Senator Ekweremadu, if it's done so much as outlined by Law Mefor for IPOB and Nnamdi Kanu, why would they now turn around to make him a target of attack? That's the first leg of my question. How well informed are some of these diasporans about occurrences back home? Second leg of it is this. Incidentally, Abike was our guest some weeks ago when we were discussing attacks on Nigerians in South Africa, that's xenophobic attacks, and then Nigerian on Nigerian violence. The mentality of some diasporans would appear to be, look, this is not home, this is here. Here we have a right to do whatever we like. But there appears to be no recognition that there is no right to lawlessness in Germany.
Well, like I said, we just came back from the Nigerian Diaspora Day in Abuja, which is the first Diaspora Day organized by the NIDCOM since the inception. And the idea is also for interaction, to share ideas on happenings both in abroad and in Nigeria, to come up with a homeland development formula. Again, we invite dignitaries from Nigeria, and Honorable Abikede has been on our programs in Portugal and in Austria, where we also have this interaction and ask some key questions. And the invitation to the Deputy Senate President was actually one of those opportunities where the Nigerians in diaspora, especially those people who, like Ike mentioned, who has not been able to go to Nigeria in the last 4, 5 years or 6 years, will have the opportunity to ask their basic questions and from first hand hear from our representative what the issues are, and they can have a good brainstorming. That is why we are very, very concerned that if we invite, if we have our dignitaries from Nigeria, especially our policymakers and representatives, to come and interact with them, and we have such incidents like what took place in Nuremberg, then it limits our efforts, to be able to mobilize Nigerian policymakers to come for a very friendly interaction. So it's a part of a concern. As NIDO, Nigerian Diaspora Organization, we hope and we pray that with Nigerian Diaspora Commission, that the organization that acts as an umbrella organization of Nigerians, which is NIDO, will be strengthened. So if our position is strengthened, we'll be in a position to effectively mobilize all the Nigerian organizations in diaspora, and such interaction could take place as often as possible, where a more robust debate can take place before even these situations or this debate get out of hand that spill over violence. So yes, we've been doing our best. We've been having annual convention. We are actually very, very interactive with the Nigerian community, Germany. I conducted the election of Nigerian community, Germany, twice. I was a member of Nigerian community, both at national level and in Hamburg. Most of the Igbo leaders, I know them personally, coming from Delta speaking Igbo. I know from the leaders of the organizers of this event, from the coordinator, and we have some section of interaction. That's why I was of the opinion that if we have a robust interaction exactly before now, and to see exactly how the programs have been planned, we could be able to offer one or two suggestions that could probably avoid such. But let us not point out to blames like Ike said. But the fact is that yes, the diaspora have the opportunity, they have the mandate or the need to mobilize, to come together and discuss these issues, and we've been doing that from different platforms.
Well, Kenneth, thank you very much for your response. The other leg of my question is left unanswered. I'm just talking about attitude. That some diasporans tend to have the mindset that fine, now you are, as it were, within jurisdiction, so we will deal with you while you are here. And they have no good cause to do that. Why has that persisted? I mean, you get reports sometimes of hecklers, even in the U.S., and attempts at rough handling persons, who have come from Nigeria to be part of events or activities.
Well, I think it needs more orientation and more robust discussion. And like I mentioned in our first press statement, we live in a democratic country like Germany, for instance, and that there have not been any arrests, like Ike tried to explain, is because as long as the first victim, which in this case is our distinguished senator, as long as it's not pushing for any charges, they likely might have to drop it. That's number one. And number two, they need a very, very constructive investigation, review the video, see exactly who did what, and the prosecutor have to make a decision if this is something they can push forward. So I think the liberty of the democratic liberty that the diaspora has offered, which we expected those people who have lived here for a very long time to imbibe such culture, sometimes give them the impunity to think they can do anything and they probably not face the maximum consequences. But that is the situation, and we are trying to do our best to make sure that such attitude reflects on every one of us, because we're having a rising right wings across Europe, and if we will be very, very willing to stoke pardon one of our own and involved in violent attack, then we cannot be very surprised that the right wing's politician will begin to demand that all Nigerians will be criminalized, in quote, and which is a danger for those people who are not having a regular stay here for possible deportation. So yes, that mentality needs to change. I will say that you're very, very correct on that. I will have to do more to change that mindset.
Very much, Kenneth Gbandi, for joining us via Skype from Germany. We thank you for your thoughts and your time on the program this morning. But just also to a very big thank you to Ikechukwu Okafo, who's a consultant. He joined us via Skype. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Just before we sign off our guests here in the studio, I'd like Honorable Ekweremadu to speak to what awareness and orientation should Nigerians in diaspora get, or those that are leaving to be, to go abroad. What kind of orientation should they have so that they can behave better when they travel?
It depends on where you're going. First, when you're leaving, where are you going to? I mean, you are leaving the country, you don't have a job. Fine, you don't have a job here, but you're going to somewhere that you don't even know what's going to happen. So the first thing, you should know where you're going to. And we're going to embark on, working with various diaspora organizations to tell, especially the younger ones. I mean, they're going to say, oh, this and that, but be careful where you're going to. Where you're going to could be worse than where you're running away from. Sure. So that will be very important. And then what will happen to you in some places? For instance, drugs in some Asian countries is death. So we're going to even working with the embassies, as you're getting your visa, these are the rules and regulations. I think that is very important because a lot of people get into trouble out of ignorance. Mm-hmm. So I think that is very key. And most importantly is the fact that, know where you're going to. And then two is obey the laws of other countries. Yeah. Like Kenneth said there, we're talking about stigmatization. You are the queue, they draw you out because you have a green passport. It's because of the attitude of somebody from your country who behave that way. So this stigmatization, we're trying to tell the world that that's not who we are as a people. These are who we are as Nigerians. We're hardworking. We are the best in the world. Then bad news travels fast. Like I said, that particular event was a beautiful event, but all we heard about was the bad incident. So we are going to make a conscious attempt to celebrate ourselves as Nigerians. Nigerians in diaspora are simply the best everywhere in the world, just as Nigerians generally speaking. So we are going to make a conscious attempt to talk more about those good Nigerians. This week alone, we must have had about 20 success stories of Nigerians in the diaspora. But what are we talking about? A few people who decided to disgrace themselves, not our country, abroad. So we have to do a lot more of that and work with various diaspora organizations. And like I said, we have diaspora desks now in every foreign embassy.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ekweremadu. She is the Chairman, CEO, Nigeria's Diaspora Commission. Thank you very much for your thoughts and time. And also a very big thank you to Law Mefo, Dr. Law Mefo. He's a forensic and social psychologist and, of course, a representative of Senator Ekweremadu on the program this morning.
Thank you.
All right, that's the first leg of our discussion this morning. There will be the inauguration of the ministers designate in just a few hours from now. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be speaking to that.
Chief. Good morning, sir. You're here already?
No, now my spirit day, my body day for house. What kind of question is that? Were you not the one that fixed this meeting for 8 a.m.? You are now coming by 10 a.m. and start asking me jab questions.
But Chief, now, I'm sorry. Don't you also go late for meetings sometimes? You know now, African time.
No more African time. And no more pancaking of face during office hours. At the end of the day, we will lose valuable time. We will not make progress. If we want to move this nation forward, we must treat business as business and respect time. Change begins with me.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry. Can we go for the meeting now, Chief?
Better.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Advertising your goods and services on the right channel gives you an edge over your competitors. NTA News 24 has all the platforms for your target audience. The station is on DSTV channel 419, GoTV channel 46, StarTimes channel 101, and Free TV channel 703. With our digital format and wide range, we can reach your customers in next to no time. We are eager to promote your business, goods, and services. So, partner with us for a very rewarding business experience. For more information, please call Henry on 0803-379-0884 or visit our office at NTA Headquarters, Area 11, Garki, Abuja. NTA News 24. News and more news.
You're welcome back. You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria. Already, the ministers designate underwent a 2-day retreat, and that is to prepare them for the task ahead. And in just a few hours, they will be inaugurated officially as ministers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But then we will look at the task ahead of them. But just before we delve into our discussion, let's take this background report that has been put together by correspondent Mitairi Ikbem.
The next level is full of expectations from millions of Nigerians. For 2 days, these ministers designate who will midwife the process have been incubating ideas and fine-tuning strategies.
I think without these retreats, we'll probably go in there shooting in the dark. This is a very useful induction, and I believe we have all the information we need right now to start. We need to work very hard day and night to make sure that Mr. President achieve the objective that he laid ahead of him.
We will not fail Mr. President or fail all Nigerians.
Also, this is a message to our friends, our relatives, and so many people out there that many of them will be disappointed. They should not think that a minister is about people just coming and giving out jobs and signing checks and giving out government money. They should realize that it's about procedures, it's about following laws and rules and regulations.
To lift 100 million people out of poverty will not be the result of prayers and of miracles. It has to be the outcome of meticulous planning and even more robust commitment to execute policies and programs.
The consensus is that a monitoring and evaluation framework will be instituted to track the performances of various ministries on key targets. With the conclusion of the presidential retreat, attention will shift to the inauguration of the cabinet and next, service delivery to the Nigerian populace.
Thank you very much, Mitairi Ikbem, for that background. We have two guests with us in the studios. Of course, one of them is a fairly familiar guest, Ibrahim Modibo, public affairs analyst, diagonally and triangularly. Perpendicularly. Ibrahim Modibo, thank you for being with us on the program this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
We also have with us in the studios another political affairs analyst, Ade Amole. Amole, pleasure to have you with us on the program.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So let's begin with Ade Amole. Look, in a couple of hours or thereabout, it's nearly 9 o'clock now, the new Federal Executive Council will be inaugurated, and then the business of the day will kick off. In your opinion, what is afoot?
First, I'd like to congratulate the President for putting together a very great team. It's something that we were actually looking towards, and he's actually done it. And I also like to congratulate the ministers designate. The people, the caliber of people that have been put together, these are the people that we're actually looking up to, and we're quite hopeful that they will deliver on the promises of the next level agenda of actually taking Nigeria to the next level of prosperity. Now, talking about what will be done, actually lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty is a main feat. We're looking about that in 10 years. That's about 10 million Nigerians per year. That's a lot of work. But with the capacity of people that we now have in this new cabinet, we believe and we hope that they will get that done. And it's all about investing in people. It's at the core of it is actually getting people out of poverty. And how do you actually do that? Create jobs, provide an enabling environment, ensure that we have the right infrastructure, and also at the same time ensure that you put in place policies that will actually lift more people out of our poverty. And looking at what's happened in the last 2 days, the fact that the president actually thought of actually starting with a retreat for the ministers, it's about getting all the ministers to work from one to all sing from one page, and also get them ready for the great task ahead. I believe that they will get it done, and by 2023 we should be looking at more Nigerians should be happier than where we are today.
All right, Ibrahim Modibo, let's get your take on that. And are we likely to see some reappointed ministers retain their portfolios?
Well, let me join Ade in also congratulating Mr. President for the wonderful choice he has done in trying to assemble these brilliant men and women of valor and candor. In his patriotic and nationalistic approach to good governance, Mr. President, in his wisdom, has assembled a team of seasoned Democrats and technocrats that he believes will be able to deliver the goods. Now, we've came from a background where there was lack of transparent, honest, and credible governance that has been placed before Nigerians. We saw a situation where the previous administrations had Nigeria buckled under a ravenous and greedy political class whose major agenda was to set a template on how to loot the economy and also impoverish Nigerians. Now, this is a radical departure. They should know that the change has now transformed into the next level. Therefore, it is incumbent on them to sit down, have a focus, sense of direction based on philosophies and principles and great thinking of Mr. President. What are the thoughts of Mr. President at this point in time? There are a lot of challenges facing Nigerians. When you look at the issue of fixing the economy, when you look at the issue of insecurity, and also when you look at the issue of fighting corruption. These are fundamentals. And also setting a template for electoral process that will be credible, and also looking at a template where also the rule of law will prevail. So having said this as a template, I want them to be in sync and in rhyme with the philosophies and thinking of Mr. President that the issue of corruption is non-negotiable. If you look at what has happened in the days gone by, just a few days ago, you've seen how people that were fighting corruption that were found wanting were sidelined. So also the head of service was also queried, or is also before the law. Therefore, it's a symbol that the days of looting, the days of thinking that you are going into government for jamboree, or maybe to descend, to kind of descend, leave the fines and this of a person on our common patrimony is gone. Therefore, what remains is for us to have a focus, a sense of direction. The team must be in sync and rhyme with the dictates of Mr. President. Okay, Ibrahim Modibo, thank you very much.
The second leg of my question.
Yes.
Okay, let Adeomole also speak to it, Kingsley. That is, are we likely to see, what portfolios are we likely to see for some of the ministers, and those that were reappointed, are they likely to maintain?
I believe that a few of them will probably not trying to second guess what will happen, but I believe a few of them will probably be returned to their portfolios for specific reasons. Again, I'm not trying to second guess the president. We've been told that the portfolios will be assigned sometime in a few hours as soon as they're actually sworn in. Probably it's best to actually wait until those portfolios are actually assigned. But I have a feeling that probably a few will probably go back to that's the ones that were reappointed. We'll probably go back to the ministries where they were before now. But having said that, if you look at the caliber of the people that he's actually put together, I believe any single one of them will do well in most of the ministries. So at the end of the day, it's about, actually hitting the ministry and actually doing the right thing and actually running with it.
Well, so let me quickly intervene in this process. It's, for Mr. President to have spent 4 years with the minister and also reappoint him, that means he has imposed serious confidence in him. And therefore, the ability to do the job is also there. I strongly believe that this team, about 12 ministers that have returned so far, they've done very well by the estimation of Mr. President, and the need for continuity. So there's every possibility of some of them retaining their ministries, and also there's also the possibility of Mr. President's vision, looking at them, changing them to other profiles. Therefore, I strongly believe that we have a very good team. I do not expect somebody like General Magashi, whom I know to be a very strict, very highly mobile, retired military general, to be taken to information. No, he should go to defense, because I know that's where he belongs. And I don't expect some other people that I know are well-grounded that should be taken to other ministries. There's a need to unbundle. As I've rightly said, there's a need to unbundle some of these ministries. You don't expect one minister to have about 3. He's not a machine. Even if it's a machine, it's bound to break down. Therefore, there's a need to unbundle some of these ministries, give ministers of state that have been able to rhyme with their former ministers or their ministers, they've been able to learn the ropes. And therefore, there's need for them now to start sitting strategically, to position themselves to have ministries that they can control. I strongly believe that this is a very good team. That's right. Well, in a matter of hours, we would know the portfolios, and then the work begins. But I'd like to draw attention, and therefore your comment to this point. The president stated at the retreat that, one, there's a lot of work to do in security, economy, and fighting corruption as well. But at the same time, this is a thankless job. And the sentiments that we have expressed here are all positive sentiments. It's a good team. Gentlemen and ladies are coming to do a good job. But how then might we account for or seek to discount societal pressure that might then lead to making the job of a minister more thankful rather than being thankless? You know the kind of pressures I'm talking about. Definitely. There are societal expectations. The ministers come from states. They come from communities. They come from associations. How might all of this be accounted for in the mix?
I think it boils down to the fact that to the character of the person that's been appointed, actually. And that's one of the reasons I said this caliber of people, it's a great team. There are people that, these are grassroots people that have been, they're well known, they've been around for a very long time. And I'm sure when the president actually appointed these people, he must have actually thought about that these are people of dignity, these are people with integrity, these are people that would go to those positions and work as expected. These are people that wouldn't bow to pressure. Of course, there would be pressures from different angles, from the party line, from your people, from your grassroots, from your family and all that. But if you're the person, which I think most of them are, if not all of them, I think they have the capacity to actually deal with those pressures and actually ensure that they take and go ahead with what they've been tasked to actually do, which is look at what we have at this present time. Look at the challenges. What are the 3 core things we're actually trying to do? We're actually fighting corruption. We're looking at security. There have been a few challenges, which like I must confess, that the security forces have been on top of recently. And also, we're actually looking at the economy. And I'm sure that with the caliber of people that we have at this present time, they have the capacity to actually, look at the task ahead and deal with that instead of, succumbing to one pressure or the other. Ibrahim. Which is, again, a matter of the character, sort of a character thing that it actually boils down to.
Ade, thanks, Ibrahim. Your constituents would ask the question, is a minister, what has he done for us? Yes, politics is about who gets what, when, where, and how. Therefore, there's no how there's no dividing line between people's interest and also the interest of government. Why you are appointed is to serve people. Let me tell you, in politics, you go into politics to improve the livelihood of people. You don't go there to improve animals. And therefore, people expect more from you. As a minister, you must be accountable to government. You must be accountable to the people. That is most superior. Therefore, what the expectations is, if you are in governance, you must perform. Because the president has set a template. He said there's no failing. Failure is not in his dictionary. And therefore, I believe this is the time now to go to the next level where the minister will settle down to make sure that they deliver dividends of democracy to Nigerian people. Anything less will not be unacceptable. And therefore, the thinking is the issue of very paramount. As Ade has rightly stated, agreed that people will come and there will be pressures. There will be a lot of pressures that will come to bear on the ministers.
Of course, as a Minister of Finance, you're expected to probably do the road to your village.
Exactly. But
which isn't your job.
But the thing is, you see, there's no how as a minister, if I am to be a minister, let's say of works, that I cannot take almost every constituency if I have the means and why with that, including my own. What is bad in me doing a road? Because tomorrow I'm going back to my village once I retire. So if I have a chance of giving my people, along with other Nigerians, the most important thing is to have consideration for others too. Don't be so selfish, so self-centered that you think your village is the only thing. No. Expand the horizon, widen the scope, and also look at the possibilities of building a nation. All we need in Nigeria today is Nigeria of our dream. In Nigeria where every Nigerian will have the Nigerianness in him. And in Nigeria where I strongly believe that Mr. President will leave a landmark. By the time he leaves in 2023, by the grace of God, his name will be flying among the Committee of Nations as one that has performed in Sub-Saharan Africa.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim Modibo. Thank you for joining us on this conversation this morning. And also to Ade Omole, thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, now let's take sports.
Nigeria's Flying Eagles on Tuesday defeated South Africa 2-1 at the ongoing 12th African Games to secure their first 3 points. In the game played at the